Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Okay, so I hope the other students will join the lecture. Now it is 9:18. So we will wait for few more minutes, maybe 2 minutes maximum until the others join. Until that time period. Okay, so how you all are doing? I hope all of you all are doing good. Is everyone at home?
Yes, madam.
Okay, so you missed the university again, no? You came and then you had to go back again home. Okay, don't worry. I hope the things will get okay soon, so then you all can come to the university. And for the semester 1 practicals, I hope some of you all have already covered 2 practicals, and the others had to cover that practical as well. So now it was set to start the lecture semester 2 raw material and fiber science lectures from today onwards, and also it will be online, and if everything goes okay, we should be able to physically start the university. So then it will be physical lectures, not online lectures. All right, so I know when it is online lectures, sometimes there could be certain difficulties, but you all have to bear with the system, because that's what's the best that we can do. Okay, so now this lecture series is again the second version, or the next version of the raw material and fiber science. We did a raw material and fiber science module 1, that is part 1. So in that part, can one of you tell me what have we covered mainly? Raw materials and fiber science. Api monada raw material fiber science module 1 ekedi moolikawama basically what have we covered? Can one of you tell me? Sitara api monada raw material fiber science 1 එකේ cover කළේ?
Fiber type.
Okay. ඔගොල්ලෝ දෙන්නෙක් කවුරු හරි එකට ඉඳගෙන join වෙනවද?
නෑ madam.
Okay. කියන්නකෝ සිතාර මොනවද අපි cover කළේ කියලා?
Fiber types, cotton, silk, jute, linen, wool.
Okay. හරි. Thank you සිතාරා. මට තව එක්කෙනෙක් කියන්න. දැන් මේ fibers ටික ගත්තාම now also we have learned about fiber classification. So according to our normal fiber classification, to which fiber type does these fibers categorize? Okay, index number 769, the last three digits. Index number 769. මේ දැන් සිතාරා කියපු fiber type sticker, fiber sticker අපේ classification එකට අනුව මොන classification එකටද අයිති වෙන්නේ? 769 index number එක තියෙන්නේ කවුද? Are you there? Index number 20TT0769. Okay, I will not wait for a long time. Maybe Shashi Prabha. Can you tell me, now Sitara told there are a few fibers that we have learned about. So according to our classification, which fiber type are these?
Natural and man-made.
Is it natural and both man-made?
Synthetic.
Okay, Shashi Prabha. Now, we have learned about cotton. We have learned about jute. We have learned about linen. We have learned about silk. We have learned about wool. So all those fibers Are they taken from natural sources, or this any modification has been done during the fiber manufacturing? I'm not telling the yarn manufacturing, during the fiber manufacturing to get the natural fibers, to get those fibers. Does any man involvement was there, just other than extraction of the fibers? May fibers hadila tiyenne කොහොමද? All these fibers, how they are made? Cotton fibers, wool fibers, linen fibers, jute fibers, all these fibers, Shashi Prabha, how they are made? ඒවා කොහොමද? ඒවා කොහෙන්ද ආවේ? Does anybody make them? That's the thing that, yes, tell me.
Plant, animals.
Plants and animals. So naturally these fibers were there. Silk fibers, the silkworm has spinned the silk fiber. So these fibers were there in the nature. So what people have done was they have extracted the fibers and they have spun yarns out of these fibers. Okay. So if these fibers, origin of the fibers, if the origin of the fibers are natural, we call them as natural fibers. හැමෝටම තේරෙනවද ඒක? Can everybody understand that? Because when you ask about a fiber, what type of a fiber it is, you need to make sure that you have a thorough understanding what a natural fiber is, what a man-made fiber is. Ravindu, can you understand the difference between a natural fiber and a man-made fiber? Ravindu. Ravindu, are you there?
Yes, madam.
Oh, මට කියන්න Ravindu, natural fibers කියනකොටයි man-made fibers කියනකොටයි තියෙන ප්‍රධානතම වෙනස මොකක්ද කියලා? ඔයාට තේරෙන විදිහට කියන්න මට. Any answer, doesn't matter whether it is correct or wrong. In English, please. What do you mean by a natural fiber? What do you mean by a man-made fiber? Ravindu? Okay. It is like this. Natural fibers are fibers already available in the nature. So now if someone asks you, is cotton a natural fiber? Okay, then you need to think about the fiber, not the yarn, the fiber. Okay. Okay, think about the cotton fiber. How does the cotton fibers are produced? Okay, then cotton fibers. Can anybody make cotton fibers in the lab? No, you have learned cotton fibers are from plant sources. Okay, you take the seed of the fiber and there are millions of cotton fibers in that seed. So therefore, cotton is a natural fiber. If someone asks you, rayon fibers. Rayon are made from cotton fibers. But in here, the rayon, the cellulose is first dissolved. Rayon fibers are not there in the nature. Okay, they take the cellulose polymer and then people spin yarns or fibers out of this cellulose polymeric pulp. So those things are called regenerated fiber or not 100% natural. It is a sort of a man-made fiber because those rayon fibers were not there in nature. If you think about a polyester, okay, polyester, no animal or no plant produce polyester fibers. So you need to take the polymer and then you need to make the fiber and then you need to make the yarn. Okay. If you think about silk fibers. So you all know, we have already covered that section, how the silk fibers are done. There's a silk worm and the cocoon. They produce a cocoon and then they remove the worm and then what do? They take that already spun silk of the silkworm and then they produce yarn or they produce fabric out of it. And then if you talk about wool fibers, so there are sheep or there are specific animals who can produce these wool fibers. So we take the wool fibers out from those animals and then we spin yarns and then we make fabric. But in here, the originality, the origin of the fibers, if they are either from a plant source or from an animal source, we call them as natural fibers. All right, that is in the fiber form, it need to be there in the nature, in a plant material or inside an animal. Is it understandable? Ravindu? Hari, Mang hitanawa, you all can understand. Thank you. Index number 769, you have given me the answer. Okay, so that is the classification. Okay, we have already learned about natural fibers. And we have learned about how, what's the origin of these natural fibers. And also we have talked about chemical structures of these natural fibers and their properties and how people process these fibers to make yarns or fabric. We have talked about that. We have already discussed those details in our raw material and fiber science 1. All right. So this module is raw material and fiber science 2. In this section, we are going to cover synthetic fibers. Previously, we have covered natural fibers. So under this section, we are going to talk about synthetic fibers. So let me share the course module description with you. So then you all can have a thorough understanding about what we are going to cover during the lecture. All right. Okay, give me 1 minute. I will share the course content and the description with you. Can everybody see the screen? Screen එක පේනවා නම් මට message එකක් දාන්න පේන්නේ නැත්නම් මට message එකක් දාන්න. Otherwise I will think you can see the screen, so then I will continue without wasting time. Okay. So this module is raw material and fiber science 2. Module code is TT1201. This is semester 2. This carries 3 credit points. And during the lectures, we need to cover 30 lecture hours. For the practicals and the tutorial, there would be another 30 hours allocated. So totally, we are going to spend 60 hours on this module. So from this module, to assess your knowledge about this module, we are going to have 2 sections. So your knowledge will be assessed through a final examination, which carries 70% of your marks from the total. And then your continuous assessment will carry 30% of your final mark. Okay, is this clear? Clear neda? Clear natham? Please do let me know. And the aim of the module. So you need to keep in mind what is the aim of the module, because through this module we need to give you certain knowledge about the subject. So the main aim is to provide an overview of the structural features of textile man-made fibers. So we are going to basically discuss about structural features of almost all the textile man-made fibers. So there are different man-made fibers. There are very popular fibers that we used in the textile industry, such as polyester, nylon, viscose rayon. So there are many fibers. So we are going to talk about, or we are going to discuss about some of the structural features of these man-made fibers. So when it's come to the structural features, we are going to talk about physical and chemical properties of these man-made fibers and their effect on the fabric performance. So when you pass out from the university, when you go to the industry, you could have different parts. So this module is very important because mainly the fabric performance, that is the final textile article, the fabric. The performance of your textile mainly depend on the chemical and physical properties of the fibers that you have used to produce the fabric. Okay, so if you are going to do innovation, that is if you are going to add specific additional properties to your textile, or else if you are going to go to a production flow, and then if you are going to produce fabric, or if you are going to make garments out of fabric, in any section you need to have a thorough knowledge about the chemical and physical structures of fibers. Those are the main building block of a fabric. Okay, any modification that you do to these physical and chemical structures, you will get different properties. If you are into innovation, or if you are into create new things in your career path, you need to know about what are the chemical and physical properties of these individual fibers. So then you all can do any modification. So your modification could happen in the fiber state, during the spinning stage, or during the fabric stage, or during the after finishes stages. Because if you take a textile garment, before it goes to the consumer, it need to start from the raw material. That is, first you need to have the raw material maybe as fiber forms, or as in the polymer form. Because for the man-made fibers, we do not start from the fiber, we start from the polymer. So that polymer solution will be subjected to a process called spinning. So through that spinning process, these polymers could be made into fibers or filaments. So those filaments are the building block of the fabric. So in that process, that is from the polymer solution to the fabric, okay, for the man-made fibers, you need to have a thorough knowledge about the polymer. What is the chemical structure of these polymers? Because chemical structure of the polymer, the chemical functional groups available in the polymer plays an important role towards the final properties of your filaments or the yarn, and also to your final fabric performance. Okay. So if I take an example like this, you have already learned about cotton fibers. So the cotton fibers has cellulose chemical structure in it. So these cellulose has different chemical functional groups. If you take a polyester fiber, the polyester fiber, the chemical structure is different to that of a cellulose fiber. So because these two polymers have different chemical structure, it has different water absorption properties, or the reactivity towards water. I would rather call it as a reactivity towards water, because the cellulose, because of its cellulosic structure in these cotton fibers, they can make hydrogen bond with water molecules. They can attract water molecule, not like polyester. Polyester does not have any chemical functional group to attract water molecule. So when it's come to the moisture management property of a fabric, these water loving property of the fibers plays an important role. If a fiber has a more affinity for water, what will happen? It can hold the moisture for a certain time period. So then its moisture evaporation would be lesser. But if you take the polyester, it does not hold moisture, or it does not make chemical bonds with the water molecule. So the water molecules will be only physically entrapped inside the fabric structure. And also because of that, from a polyester textile, it is easy to evaporate the water molecules compared to a cotton fabric. Okay, so those things basically contributes towards some of the very important moisture management properties of your textile. Okay, that is a one aspect. And if you are going to talk about new innovation and how to apply new properties to the textile, then and there also you need to talk about the initial raw material properties or the fiber properties. If I take an example like this, if I want to add a chemical polymer with a certain property, maybe think about a nanoparticle to your fabric structure. So then if that particle is having certain chemical group which can attract to the cellulose molecule, so then you can directly combine that nanoparticle with the cellulose structure. But when it's come to the polyester, most of the time, they do not have chemical functional groups. So that is why even during a dyeing process, we normally do the dyeing at different conditions. So in that case, to attract or to attach these nanoparticles to a polyester fabric, we need to give different physical modifications to the fabric. So then these particles could be physically entrapped inside the polyester structure. But compared to a cellulose or a cotton fiber, you can chemically attach the nanoparticle to the structure. So that is one aspect. That is, if you want to talk about the regular property of the fabric, that is something like moisture management or the dyeing. So then the chemical properties of the fibers matters a lot. Okay. When it's come to the innovation and new property development, then again, how you are going to attach those modification or maybe a nanoparticle to the textile. In that also the chemical structure of the fiber plays an important role. Okay. So we have already covered the cellulose, natural fibers in our last module. And in here, we are going to talk about the man-made or artificial fibers. They are chemical and physical properties. Okay. So that's the main name of the module, to provide an overview of the structural features of textile man-made fibers, including physical and chemical properties and their effect on fabric performance based on various types of man-made fibers. Okay. And also, we have listed 3 outcomes from this module. That is, at the completion of this module, you need to be able to describe a man-made manufacturing process. So I will discuss everything about the man-made fiber manufacturing processes. So during your assessment time, you should be having the capability or the knowledge to describe man-made fiber manufacturing processes. And the second learning outcome of this module is that you should be able to describe chemical structures of different man-made textile fibers. That is, if I ask you, what is the chemical structure of a nylon fiber? And then if I ask you to describe what is the difference between a polyester man-made fiber and a nylon man-made fiber, the main chemical differences. So based on that chemical differences, how we are going to select our dyeing process. So those things you need to be able to describe at the end of this module. And the third learning outcome is that you should be able to identify the effect of physical and chemical properties of different man-made fibers in relation to the performance of the fabric. All right. So in here, there are two terms, physical and chemical properties of fibers. Can one of you tell me one physical property of a fiber? Maybe you all have learned about natural fibers. Okay. Can one of you tell me a physical property in the sense, what are the things under the physical properties? What do you mean by a physical property? Maybe if I ask from one by one, index number 760. මට කියන්නකෝ physical property එකක්. ඔගොල්ලොන්ට තේරෙන විදිහට fiber එක physical property එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? ඒක මට ලොකුවට describe කරන්න එපා. අපි මෙහෙම ගත්තොත් okay, I can simplify it like this. If I take a table, okay, if I take a table, the length of the table is a physical property. The width of the table is a physical property. Okay, and then how strong it is a physical property. Okay, now think about a natural fiber that you have learned about, and then please tell me a physical property of a natural fiber. Index number 760, is it, if I correct that I have asked? 760 in on is the index number, last 3 digits. Okay, yeah, hit on then. නිෂාදි මේ කළා. මට fiber එකක physical property එකක් කියන්න මට. නිෂාදි?
Strength.
Strength is a physical property. In a fiber, when we refer to the strength, there's a specific term that we call, that we use. අපි fiber එකක strength එක කතා කරන්නේ මොන term එකකින්ද? මොන විදිහටද? Have you all heard about tensile strength in your last module? Tensile strength කියලා එකක් ගැන ඇහුවා නේද? අපි when it's come to the fibers, we normally do not refer to it as just the strength. We refer to it as the tensile strength, because the tensile strength mainly take into account the fiber diameter as well. Okay, now you may have heard the strongest material in nature or in the world is spider silk or the spider yarn. It is because we all know the spider or the cobweb, when you stretch it, it can break. But do you know it has a strength which are stronger than even steel? When it's come to steel, the steel strength is very high because the steel, if you take a rod of a steel, that rod diameter is high. So if you take per unit length of a diameter, the strength, when you compare that with a spider silk, the most stronger one is the spider silk. So the strength is a correct answer. But to be more specific in the textile, we refer to it as tensile strength. Thank you, Nishad. Vishwa, can you tell me another physical property of a fiber?
Density.
What?
Density.
Density is another property. Yes, that's good. Thank you. Devapriya, can you tell me another physical property? We have
stiffness.
Stiffness. It also more or similar to the strength. Yes, the stiffness is also a correct answer. Thank you. Index number 747. Index number 747. Okay, sorry, someone has asked me, have you shared the screen? Yes, I am sharing the screen. Can you all see my screen? ඔයාලට පේනව නේද screen එක? මම screen එකක් share කරලා තියෙන්නේ. Index number 747. Screen එක පේනවද? කවුරු හරි මට පේන්නේ නැත්තම් කියනවද? Message එකක් දානවද? මට තව එක physical property එකක් කියන්න fiber එක. Index number 747.
Luster.
A luster is another physical property. Very good. How about the diameter? How about the length? Those are also physical properties. Okay. So in your last module, have you heard something about short staple fibers and long staple fibers? Staple fibers, have you heard something like that? අහලා තියෙනවද? ඔගොල්ලෝ මේ staple fibers කියන term එක ඇහුනේ විශේෂයෙන්ම කොතෙන්දද? මොකක් සම්බන්ධ කරගෙනද? Imesha. Imesha?
Yes, madam.
Imesha, can you remember we have talked about a term called staple fibers? So with what type of a physical property we have correlated the staple term? Short staple, long staple.
Short staple.
Oh, අපි එහෙම එකක් කතා කළා මතකද? Short staple, long staple,
Yes.
the staple length.
Oh, madam.
Oh, මොකක්ද එතකොට ඒකේ physical property එක අපි මේ එතන කතා කරන්නේ මොකක් ගැනද අපි කතා කරන්නේ? Staple කියලා.
Length එක.
Length එක. Very good. අන්න හරි. Length එක. එතකොට now when you talk about the fiber length, in the natural fibers, they are not continuous. That is, it's not very long. All right. It has different lengths. Short staple, long staple. All right. But one of the key difference between a natural fiber and a man-made fiber is, in the man-made fibers, we can control the length of the fiber because it is done by people. It is done by man. But in the natural fibers, the fiber length we cannot control mainly. We can have a control to a certain level. The length that is, it is not continuous. If you take a cotton fiber, there are fibers with different lengths. Okay, it could be short, it could be long. So that is why when it's come to the natural fibers length, we call them as they are staple fibers. They are not continuous. With natural fibers, the term staple goes hand in hand. With the man-made fibers, the term continuous goes hand in hand when it's come to the length, because man-made fibers, it's continuous, very, very long. You cannot even find the two ends. When you start spinning it, you basically wind it into a spin cone, and then you end it. So it's very long, continuous. But when it comes to natural, they are staple fibers. They are not very long. So during different spinning processes, carding, roving, all these things, what they do is they take these fibers, not continuous, non-continuous fibers with different lengths. What they do, they align these fibers, they twist them together, and then they make a continuous yarn. තේරෙනවද? එතකොට, when you take a natural fiber, there is a collection of short fibers twisted together to make a continuous yarn of a natural yarn. If you take the cotton yarn, so then in there you have short or you have different length cotton fibers. You subjected it to opening, you subjected it to carding, and then you align them, and then you twist them, and then you make the continuous yarn. So inside a cotton yarn, you have short fibers in it. That's the same with the wool fibers. But if you take the silk is a little bit different. The silk worm basically spin its cocoon continuously through its silk spinning glands. They take this polymer and then it gets solidified, and then they spin a cocoon. So that is why people do not tend to remove the cocoon by opening. They do not remove the worm by opening the cocoon. If they cut the cocoon, what will happen? The continuity of the silk fiber will be lost. But it's not a very good practice, but that's what happened in the industry. Because that is why they basically put it into the boiling condition. So then the worm will get destroyed, but then you will have that cocoon intact. So then you can take the end of a cocoon and then you can unwind it and rewind it into a bobbin or something. All right. So those are what we call as physical properties of a fiber. And also there are chemical properties of fibers. Okay, maybe I will ask one by one. Index, yeah, Imesha. Imesha, can you tell me what do you mean by chemical properties of a fiber?
Madam, I had a pain නැති properties. මේක ඩයි එකට පේන්නේ නැති
ඇහැට පේන්නේ නැහැ. මට නිකම් පොඩි එක උදාහරණයක් වට කියන්න පුළුවන්ද? මොන විදිහ එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්? Absorbency. Very good. Dye absorption එකකින් තමයි අපිට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට chemical property එකක් අපිට විස්තර කරන්නට පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. So, thank you, me, right? No, Imesha. Imesha, thank you, Imesha. So the chemical properties basically depend on the chemical structure. Like I have explained previously, we have these cellulose molecules in a cotton fiber. We have polyester polymers in a polyester yarn. So then we have wool. Wool have protein polymers. Okay, polypeptides. They have polypeptides. And then when you have nylon, they have polyamide. So polyamide to polypeptide to polyesters to cellulose. They have, if you have a close look at the chemical composition or the chemical structures of those polymers, you can clearly identify there's a huge difference between them. So depending on the chemical structure or the chemical functional groups available in the fibers, you have different properties. So if you take a very simple process such as dyeing, textile dyeing, so these different fibers need to go through different dyeing protocol. It is because you cannot use the same dye to dye both the cellulose fibers as well as the polyester fibers. Okay. So those are the things what we call it as chemical properties. Now, if you go back to our module description, so at the end of this module, the third learning outcome should be, you should be able to identify the effects of these physical and chemical properties of different man-made fibers and how it contributes to the performance of the fabric. Okay, so these three are the basic learning outcomes of the module. So in our assessment, or it could be through a final examination, or it could be through a continuous assessment, we are going to assess your ability on these three learning outcomes. Okay, and then if I go to the module outline, so during this module, I will give an introduction to man-made fibers, fiber manufacturing process, chemical structures of fibers, chemical and physical properties of different textile fibers. Okay, so we are going to cover the man-made fibers. So we are going to talk about manufacturing process of these man-made fibers and also their chemical structure of these fibers, and also their chemical and physical properties of different textile man-made fibers. Okay, and then we are going to talk about different filament or fiber manufacturing process. Okay, spinning, we call it as spinning. Even in the cotton yarn also go through a spinning, but it is not the same spinning process that we use for the man-made fibers. Okay, so in this man-made fiber spinning process, of course, we can produce continuous fibers. We call them as filaments. Okay, and also we can produce fibers, short fibers as well. Short fibers, maybe not like a filament, but like a web. Okay, there are novel fiber manufacturing processes also for the man-made fibers. So we are going to discuss about that as well. And the third module outline is quantitative and qualitative analysis of blended fabric and identify the advantages and disadvantages. When it's come to the textile, most of the time there are 100% fibers. That is, maybe it could be 100% natural or cotton, or maybe certain other fibers, or else it could be a blended. Then we will talk about why people blend different fibers to make fabrics. Okay, so that also could be discussed under this module. Okay, I hope the learning outcome as well as the module outline is clear to you. And then I will describe further the assessment criteria. So you need to keep this in mind and you need to be very clear about the assessment criteria, because you all know at the end of the day, after the module, our top priority is you should possess the required knowledge about the subject. That is, subject in the sense, this is a thing that you need to know. That is, this is a knowledge. Don't think this as a subject. This is a knowledge. So we have a framework. Within this framework, we are going to gather knowledge about this section. Okay, think it as a knowledge gathering experience. Okay, when you gather the knowledge, then we need to assess your knowledge. It is because we are a university and we are producing students, or we are producing employees to the industry. So before you go to the industry, we need to make sure you have gathered the necessary knowledge. Otherwise, you are not suitable to go and work in the industry. In our terms, we call it as you will be failed if you don't gather the necessary knowledge. Okay, so don't think about a subject, but you should be capable of taking the knowledge that we are giving to you. So for that, we are going to have an assessment. So in this assessment, I have told you there are two parts: continuous assessment and the final examination. So in this final examination, here you can see continuous assessment. We have divided it into three three tasks. That is, we are going to give you during the week number 7. That is 7th lecture. By the 7th lecture, there would be the first assignment, and it will carry 10% of your mark. By the 10th lecture week, we are going to assess, or we are going to give you assignment number 2, and it will carry another 10%. So from the continuous assessment mark, 2 assignments will basically cover 20% of your mark. Okay. And then under the projects, that is the remaining 10% from the continuous assessment would be either through a coursework or would be either through a mid-examination. Okay, that is how we are going to cover the 30%. And the final examination, you will be given 70% of your mark. So I hope you know the criteria for the pass mark, semester fail and everything. So you need to have the required marks to your module for you to be suitable to get graduated or to get passed from the subject or the knowledge area. All right. So this is the, I will call this as the module outline. Okay. So is there anything that you need to get clarified from this one, the module outline? Okay, if I go to more specific about this subject, this is what we are going to cover. Okay, let me share the module description with you. This is the module description, and this is what we are going to cover, and then the number of lecture hours that we are going to allocate. Okay, so these 3 learning outcomes, to arrive at these 3 learning outcomes, we have subdivided our module into different sections. Okay, so if you take the first section, we are going to give you an introduction to the man-made fibers. And in the first part, we will describe about the manufacturing processes. And then we will discuss about the chemical structure and chemical and physical properties of following man-made fibers. Okay, so there are many types of man-made fibers, but these are the most commonly used man-made fibers in the textile industry. So we will discuss chemical, physical properties of viscose fibers, acetate and triacetate, modal, lyocell, polyester, nylon, cone fibers, and spandex. Okay, and then we will also discuss about the effect of the physical and chemical properties of these fibers for aesthetic performance of the fabric. Okay, aesthetic performance, it could be the color, it could be the drapability, it could be how you hand feel, all those things we are going to cover. That is the contribution of these fibers, the physical and chemical structures, how they contribute towards the aesthetic performance of the fabric that we are going to have. So under this subtopic, we are going to cover learning outcome 1, 2, and 3 in here. Learning outcome 1, 2, and 3 will be covered in this subsection. And we are going to allocate 10 lecture hours for the part A and B, and 14 lecture hours for the part B. Okay, part C. And also tutorial hours, it could be through assignments or examination. So we are going to cover 8 tutorial hours for this subsection. And then in the second subsection, we are going to describe methods of filament or fiber manufacturing processes or the spinning. When it's come to the man-made spinning processes, it could be either wet spinning, dry spinning, melt spinning, or electrospinning or other spinning system. So we are going to describe about these spinning processes. So for that, under this subsection, first learning outcome would be covered, and we are going to allocate 4 hours for this subsection. Okay, and these are the practical list that we are going to do during our practical classes. So as the first one, we have to quantitative analysis of the blend fabric. And also we are going to learn about fiber manufacturing for viscose and acetate. And also the fiber testing, stretchability and fiber tenacity. And then we are going to identify the advantage and disadvantages of fiber identification methodologies. Compare the difference between textile fiber identification methodologies and then to identify an unknown fiber. You will be given an unknown fiber and then you will be asked to tell us about what the fiber is, what type of a fiber is it, just by using all the fiber testing methodologies that you are knowledgeable of. All right. And also, this part is very, very important. This part is very important. Have you all got registered to the library? Library eකට register වුණාද ඔයගොල්ලෝ? Net Mini. Net Mini. Net Mini, are you there?
Yes.
Sorry, library එකට register වුණාද ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමෝම?
Register නේ නෑ.
Library access card එක හදාගත්තද? නේ?
නෑ මැඩම්.
හැබැයි ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ මට මතකයිනේ practical දැන් අපි practical session එකක් කළානේ. ඒ practical session එකේ එක group එකක් practical කරනකොට parallelly තව practical group එකක් හිටියා. ඒගොල්ලොන්ට practical තිබ්බේ නැහැ. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලොන්ට library time එකක් දීලා තිබ්බා. මම දන්න විදිහට ඒ වෙලාවෙදී ඔයගොල්ලන්ට library registration එක තමයි කරන්න තිබ්බේ. කවුරුත්
ලයිබ්‍රරි එකට ගියාම මැඩම් මේත් එහෙම රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් එකක් නම් මොකද
ඕනේ. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට library එකේ පොත් ගන්න පුළුවන්ද දැන්? දන්නේ නැහනේ.
දන්නේ.
library එක ලස්සනයිද? ලස්සනයි නේ. වැඩි කවුරුත් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ ඒකයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Okay, so thank you Net Mini. So in here I urge you to go to the library and get hold into these recommended books, because my lectures also I will be using these books to prepare my lecture notes. Library is there for you to gather knowledge. Please use that resource. Okay, because don't just focus only on the lectures. If you just only focus on the lectures, some of the knowledge you will not take it. Most of the time we will forget the things that was said during the lecture, that was taught during the lecture. We will forget it. That is why during the examination, when we ask a question, your knowledge is very narrow. So then even during the examination, the knowledge, this narrow knowledge that you have about the subject, it will not come out to your fingertip for you to write it down as an answer. අපි අරගෙන තියෙන knowledge එක පොඩ්ඩයි නම් ප්‍රමාණය. අපි lecture notes විතරක් නම් refer කරේ. ඒ පොඩ්ඩෙනොත් බොහොම අඩු ප්‍රමාණයක් තමයි examination එකේදී එළියට එන්නේ උත්තරයක් හැටියට. That is why I ask you to go to the library. Please refer the books. May books, when you refer these books, you will gather knowledge, because you will learn maybe the same term 2 or 3 times. You will refer it. So then it will go inside your mind. When it's come to the examination, then you will not even no need to study for the exam. Don't, if you use your time properly during the teaching time period, or maybe during your leisure time, if you can go to the library and refer the books, knowledge එක වැඩි නිසා examination එකේදී, final examination එකේදී you may not need to memorize your subject. It's because knowledge is there in your mind. It's just a matter of answering, just a matter of structuring your answer and write it during the exam. Harida, please go to the library. Please go to the library and please refer these books, because I have seen some of these books. There are many books. Oh, parliament එක library එක වගේ තමයි. හැබැයි parliament library එකේ කට්ටිය parliament එකේ books පාවිච්චි කරනවද කියලා නම් මම දන්නේ නැහැ. ඕගොල්ලෝ නම් එහෙම තියන්න එපා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට parliament library එකේ වගේ කියලා කිව්වා induction එකේදී නේද? Please use it. Okay. Go to the library. There are many books. Maybe there won't be 61 books. That is for each and every one of you. There won't be a book, but go get a book and then share it with others. They will allow you to have the book for maybe more than 1 month time period, but don't hold into the book for a long time period. Take it, have a look at it, make a note, and then gather knowledge, and please return it as soon as possible, so then another person, another student can use it. හරිද? library එකට ගියාම ගොඩාක් පොත් තියෙනවා. textile section එකේ ගොඩක් පොත් තියෙනවා. අරගෙන කියවන්න. ඒක fiber science වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. any matter එකක්, any subject එකක් අරන් කියවන්න. Okay, because anyway I'm also going to use these books for me to prepare my lecture notes. එතකොට මම lecture note එක හදලා ඔයගලන්ට කරන්න කලින් ඕගොල්ලෝ subject එක ගැන දැනගෙන හිටියාම මට ඕගොල්ලන්ට ඒක තේරුම් කරලා දෙන්නත් ලේසි. ඒ වගේම තමයි ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ එක ඔළුවටත් හොඳට යනවා. So if you go to the library and refer to these books before the lecture, then it will be easy for me also to teach you the subject, because you have already know about some of these specific terms. And then if you refer to these books, then certain questions will come into your mind. So during the lectures, then and there, you all can ask questions and then clarify these questions from me. Okay, so then it would be a discussion type lecture, not just I'm delivering the lecture, but also you can participate for the lecture. It will be a positive contribution. Don't just think about if you ask a question during the lectures, it will disturb the other student. Please don't think like that. Because when the lecture goes as a discussion type, so many of the students will have the same questions. Same question. So then they will also get the clarification. All right. And also, if you discuss during the lecture, your communication skill also will get improved. Because the online classes, see now when I ask you a question, none of you all volunteer and answer. I need to go one by one and ask you questions. But if it is a physical class, I know you will be physically presenting during the lecture. So I can look at you and I know who has understand the lecture. Online lecture එක අපිට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට understand වුණාද නැද්ද කියන එක හොයන්න හරි අමාරු. අපිට ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ප්‍රශ්න අහලම තමයි ඒක දැනගන්න පුළුවන්. අපි එතකොට ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහුවම කවුරුත් volunteer වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි එක එක්කෙනාගේ නම් කතා කරලා තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝව discussion එකට ගන්න ඕනේ. Please don't do it like that. Okay? So during a lecture, since we can't physically see you, we cannot assess whether you have understand the subject or not. So this will deteriorate the final exam performance. We think during the online lecture, you have gathered all the knowledge, you have done your assignments, because you may get good marks for your continuous assessment. So by that we judge you have the knowledge. But when we get the answer script, we have noticed sometimes the knowledge is zero. Some people say cotton is a polyester fabric. Okay, I will ask from you all. Is cotton a polyester fabric? Malshika. Malshika, is cotton a polyester fabric? What's the meaning of that statement? Is that statement correct or wrong? Malshika? Malshika, are you there? If you can't activate your speaker, at least if you can send me the answer in the chat box, that also would be okay. Malshika? Cotton is a polyester fabric. That's a statement. Is that statement correct? Wrong. If it is correct, please describe. If it is wrong, please tell me why it is wrong. Okay, I will go to the next one. Mashika, I'm not sure whether you are available or not. Index number 768. Index number 768, are you there? Answer එක හරිම answer එක වෙන්න ඕනේ. Just give me an answer. Cotton is a polyester fabric. Is that statement? That statement. Please give your comments on that statement. Index number 768. Please give me a feedback to that
Wrong.
statement. Yes,
It's wrong, madam.
it's wrong. Why it is wrong? Why it is wrong? What is your name, Puta?
Oshadi.
Oshadi. Oshadi, can you tell me why it is wrong? This will improve your communication skill because I know you know it's wrong. Why it is wrong? Cotton is a polyester fabric. මම එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහුවොත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ කොහොමද ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ answer එක structure කරන්නේ? Because when you write the exam, sometimes you know the thing, you have the knowledge, but you can't write it down. It is because you do not structure your answer. When someone asks you a question, then you can structure your answer in mind very quickly and then you can give the answer. Okay. Oshadi told me cotton is a polyester fabric is a wrong statement. Then I have asked why it is a wrong statement. So then you have to structure your answer. Okay. Now in this statement, there are three terms: cotton, polyester, and fabric. If you talk about cotton, it is from a natural fiber. Polyester is a man-made fiber. Okay. Then the statement says cotton is a polyester fabric. Okay, cotton fabrics are there, polyester fabrics are there. We can blend both cotton and polyester and then we can make blended fabric. But if someone tells you cotton is a polyester fabric, cotton is a one type of a material, polyester is a totally different type of a material. Okay, so then we cannot tell cotton is a polyester fabric. But if someone tells something like this, rayon, okay, rayon is a cellulose material. Is that statement correct? How do we manufacture viscose rayon? Okay, since you maybe some of you don't know how we manufacture viscose rayon, we take the wood pulp which contains cellulose and then we dissolve it and then we spin yarn. Those yarns are called viscose or rayon. Okay, so viscose and rayon, if you take that fabric, it contains cellulose polymer. So if someone says rayon fabric has cellulose, so then it's a correct statement. All right. But if someone tells cotton is a polyester fabric, it's totally wrong. I know all of you know about that. But imagine some of you give answers like that during the exam. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට imagine කරන්න පුළුවන්ද සමහර අය ඒ විදිහ උත්තරات දෙන්න chance එකක් තියෙනවා. So that is why I ask you every time frequently go to the library, please refer books. Okay, I know you might have different other work also. Some of you might do maybe part-time jobs. Maybe you have certain responsibilities at home. But at least allocate a certain time period of your day to gather knowledge about the things that you have heard about. Now this lecture comes in once a week, only 2 hours. I know some of you might physically come to the online. Maybe you might be using your laptop or maybe you might be using your phone or something or some other device. And then you will listen to the lecture. When you listen to the lecture, some of them may go to sleep. Some of y'all may focus on the lecture and listen to the subject matter. And some of you might switch on the laptop or your device and go for certain other work. Everything doesn't matter at all. It's your responsibility. Okay, what you do is your responsibility. But your responsibility should be, you have enrolled for this course, please take the necessary knowledge, and when you go to the industry, the knowledge matters a lot for your career path, for the development of your career path. Why do we go to a university? Why do we learn? We learn to get a qualification. Why we need the qualification? It's just a license or something, a certificate that you show during an interview, and then you basically tell them, okay, I have the knowledge. But when you go to the industry, there's a totally different story. Although you show them, okay, I have this certificate with me, so this certified I have maybe graduated from the university, so then I have followed these courses. But when you go to the industry, your career path totally depends on your talent. Your talent contains your knowledge as well, and how you can tackle problems in the industry, and how smart are you. All those things carries a huge weight for your career development. So if you don't know your basics about the subject, so then what will happen in the industry? Although you are a talented person, if you don't know the basic about your subject, then you will lag. You will see it will be difficult for you to handle problems. Sometimes in the industry, certain problems come. Okay, someone asks you, okay, this fiber, how are we going to identify the fiber? Okay, why is this fabric is getting lots of wrinkles or crease marks? Why is that? If someone asks you, if you don't know your basic about your subject matter, then you will fail to answer. If you fail to answer, then you will be noticed by the industry. The person who has come for this job does not have even their basic knowledge about the fabric. So then when it's come to your career progression, you will not be given the chance for the progression or for the promotions. So then it will matter a lot, because we all know we do graduate from the universities, we go to the industry because we want to make money, to make our life better, for us to get more experience. But then the people will penalize you, you don't have basic knowledge, so then you cannot climb your career ladder. Okay, so that is why I keep on asking, please take the subject knowledge, please attend the lectures, please do your stuff. It doesn't matter whether you have personal things to do, it doesn't matter at all, but keep at least maybe 2 hours a day before you go to sleep. If you are fully busy during your daytime, please take maybe maximum 2 hours from your sleeping time, maybe 1 hour. Then if you have internet, browse the internet, and then any doubts you have, anything that you need to learn about the subject, please browse internet and take the knowledge. Or else during the daytime, you can go to the library, you can pick some books and take it to your hostel or to your home. And then maybe during the night time, that 1 hour time period, please go through the book. Sometimes the English might be an obstacle for you. Some of you might not be very fluent in reading textbooks. It doesn't matter at all. You have your friends. Friends are there for you. Okay, and also the lecturers are also there for you. Take a page or a paragraph, try to read it. If you can't read it, get hold on to a friend. With him or her, read that paragraph. And if that person also is not very fluent in English, please get into groups, study groups. We don't call it as study groups. Please get into groups. Discuss those things inside your group. Paragraph එකක් අරගෙන ඒක කියවන්න. ඒක කියවහම ඔය group එක ඇතුලේ කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් ඉන්නේ ඔය paragraph එක හොඳට කියවන්න පුළුවන්. එයාත් එක්ක කරන්න. එයාත් එක්ක එක කියවන්න. මේ විදිහට if you continue to do it every day take a 1 hour. Okay, then your communication skills, your English fluency also, I'm pretty sure it will improve to a much better level. Okay, and that's the reading skill, and also improve your writing skill, because we have noticed your final exam answer script, most of the time the answers are not readable. We all know if we ask these questions in Sinhala, most of you will answer it very fluently, but this the language barrier is also there, but we have to break that language barrier, because you are going to an industry where the English matters a lot. Okay, so your written communication skill is very, very important. So then what you can do, first read through the paragraph. Now you all can read the paragraph, because you get into groups, you get the help from your peers, or you get the help from your friends. Now you can read the paragraph, and then you try to write the paragraph. First, look at the paragraph, copy and write it using your handwrite. Okay, and then don't memorize the paragraph. Take the thing into your mind and then try to write it again in a paper. Okay, in a paper, use a pen or a pencil and try to rewrite it. So then you know how to write things. Okay, ඒ විදිහට ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ writing skill එකත් improve කරගන්න ඕනේ, because we have noticed that thing in your exam. අපි දැකලා තියෙනවා exams වල හරියට උත්තර ලියන්න නැහැ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ subject matter එක දන්නවා, ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ඒක ලියන්න බෑ. සමහරක් වෙලාවට ඒක language barrier එක වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ barrier එක කඩා ගන්න, you have to break that barrier during the lectures. Please don't try to break the barrier during the examination. You can't do it. In the 2-hour exam time slot, you can't break that barrier. Start from today itself. Today we have started the lecture. Any English article, please refer to the article and then rewrite it. You can first refer to that article maybe 5 times, 10 times, or any times that you like, and then rewrite it back into a paper. And then see what are the things that you have missed. And then secondly, you can progress it to a furthermore step. Rewrite it in your own language, own way. Okay, ඕගොල්ලන්ට හිතන විදිහටම ඒ paragraph එකේ තියෙන අදහස ඔයගොල්ලෝ වෙන විදිහකට ලියන්න බලන්න. Okay, so rewrite it in your own way but use English. කරලා, what I'm suggesting you is during the course, please use English a lot. Even in your hostel, when you talk with your friends, when you get into the groups, at least spend few times to speak with them in English. අපිට පුළුවන් යාළුවොත් එක්ක පොඩ්ඩක් ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කතා කරන්න පුරුදු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Most of you are like hostels, so take the advantage of it. ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කතා කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ magic එකක් නෙමෙයි. ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ අතට ඉන්න පුළුවන් ඉංග්‍රීසි language එක හොඳට තියෙන කෙනෙක්. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ උදව් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ගත්ත හැකි. සමහරකට grammar වැරදෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකට කමන්නේ. සමහර වචන ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නේ නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකට කමන්නේ. හොස්ටල් එකේ ඉන්නකොට ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කතා කරන්න යාළුවොත් එක්ක. So when you do that, if you try to communicate in English with your friends, even at hostels, please do it, because then you will improve your vocabulary. You will improve your grammar. Okay. During this module time period, please give the priority to English, not Sinhala. We have learned Sinhala a lot. Okay. I'm not telling to forget about the Sinhala, but please make sure you give the priority to English until your examination at least. Okay. So then your answers would be very readable. Your answers would be readable then. Okay. So these are the books that you have to refer. Please refer them. Okay, so this is what I have to describe about the module description and the module outline. Up to this, is it clear? Method clear. And after that, so we have time until 11:15. I'm going to start the lecture from now. I'm not going to give you a presentation slide today, but since this is all about man-made fibers, I'm going to share a few videos with you. Just showing you some of these man-made fibers and how they are done. So then, if I show you maybe 2 or 3 videos, the things will go into your mind. එකකින් විතරක් ඔයගලන්ට හරියටම man made fiber එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියන එක තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. කොහොමද මේවා හැදෙන්නේ? So different fibers, how they are done, chemical, physical, and how they are done. I will show you few videos. Are you ready? Is everyone with me? හරි නේද? අපි එහෙනම් පොඩ්ඩක් බලමු. So we are going to I'm going to show you some of these videos, so then you know what are these. Okay. Can you all see the screen? Screen එක පේනවද?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is about polyester. Polyester yarns could be produced using polyester chips, polyethylene terephthalate solid material. So this PET comes in PET bottles also. අපි වතුර බොන්න පාවිච්චි කරන PET bottle එක තියෙන්නේ ඒකෙත් තියෙන්නේ polyester මයි. So in Sri Lanka also, they have started a new project where they collect these PET bottles, they clean them, they remove any dye attached to that PET bottles, and then they respin these PET bottles to fibers. Okay, this is a huge project and it has attract many attention of the foreign customers. It's because we are adding a value to these waste material. PET bottle is a waste and it's an environmentally unhealthy material. Or it does not get degraded. It will keep on adding to the environment. So as a country, Sri Lanka, the textile industry is one of the biggest industry and we are one of the key player internationally. So people in Sri Lanka has taken the initiative. They have taken the steps to collect these PET bottles and to spin polyester yarn out of these PET bottles. So then the raw material cost and everything will get reduced and also it will add a value to a waste byproduct. Okay. I'm going to share this video. Please go through it. Sometimes පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න සමහරක් විට මේකේ sound එක ඇහෙන්නේ නැති වෙයි. There's a problem in my laptop when I share these videos via Zoom. Sometimes the sound will not come. That is why I have opened this subtitle. So go through the subtitle as well. Okay. ඔයගලන්ට පේනවනේ? පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න මම මුලින් මේක play කරන්නම්. ඔයගලන්ට මේක ඇහෙනවද පේනවද කියලා මට කියන්න. Can you see the video? Video එක පේනවද ඔයගලන්ට? මට උත්තරයක් නම් ඕනේ මේ වෙලාවේ. මම video එක stop කළා. Can you see the video is moving? Video එක යනවා පේනවද? උත්තරයක් දෙන්නකො මට කවුරු හරි.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you hear the sound? Wait. Can you hear the sound?
No, ma'am.
You can't hear the sound, no? Yeah, that's the problem. I have some problem with my laptop. I don't know how to fix it. But for the moment, can you follow the subtitles? मैं पल्लेහෙන් යන්න මේ English වලින් ඒක follow කරන්න පුළුවන්ද ඔයගලන්ට? මේක පේනවනේ පල්ලෙහෙන් යන subtitle. පල්ලෙහෙන් යන subtitle එක පේනවද?
Yes, madam.
හරි. මම දැනට මේක දාන්නම්. ඔයගොල්ලෝ බලන්න මේ follow කරන්න. මෙතන now in this process actually please follow the subtitles because there's some problem with my laptop. I can't get the microphone on. I don't know what's the problem with that for Zoom. So in this video, if I summarize the video, they will basically show you how these PET bottles are converted into a textile fabric. Okay, PET, polyethylene terephthalate or polyesters. PET bottles, the main polymer is polyethylene terephthalate or polyesters. Okay, so you take these PET bottles and what they do is they cut it into small pieces, or we call them as chips, PET chips, and then they follow a melt spinning process. Okay, so in this melt spinning, what they do is they take these PET chips and then they use heat to melt these chips. ඔගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා අපි PET ඕගොල්ලෝගේ වතුර බෝතලයක් මේ PET bottle එකක් ගත්තොත් if you apply heat it will get molten. Okay, so from that molten polymer liquid, it's a molten polymer liquid. From that molten polymer liquid, what will happen? When you don't have that heat, it will get solidified. Okay, so in the polyester spinning process, mainly what they do is they take the molten, in a melt spinning process, they first melt or they liquidify the solid. For that, most of the time they use heat energy. So heat energy, when you give the necessary heat energy for its melting point, what will happen? It get into a liquid. And sometimes they use certain solvents to dissolve these solids. So then also you get a liquid of the polymer. And then in the polymer sheet, in this polymer liquid, so if it is a molten polymer liquid, you apply the heat to melt it. And then what will happen when you remove the heat? Api wax, api itamu itipandama. Itipandama pattu wenakota, itipandama pattu wena thana, eya iti kiri hadenne. It's liquid. So when you have the candle, when you lit the candle, in the area, in the vicinity of the flame, it is a liquid that we have. But can you see when it's flow to the ground or to the bottom, it gets solidified. Okay, so it is solid to liquid transformation happens during the heat. If you apply heat, it gets into a liquid, but you remove the heat, it will go back into the solid. And also the beauty is, even in the paraffin wax, you may have seen, you all can pour it into a specific mold and you can make a specific shape because the liquid can flow, and then if you pour it into a mold, it will set into that mold. And when you solidify that, that is, if you remove the heat out from that one, it will get solidified into that specific physical structure. In the melt spinning process, a similar thing will happen. Okay, in the melt spinning, we apply heat and then we liquidify the solid polymer chips. Okay, and that solid polymer chips, liquidified solid polymer chips, it will pass through a thing called a spinneret. Spinneret එකක් ඇතුලෙන් යනවා. Have you all seen, have you all ever made string hoppers at your home? ඉන්දියාප්ප හදලා තියෙනවද කවුරු? ඉන්දියාප්ප හදන හැටි දැකලා තියෙනවද? Okay, දැකලා නැති කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවද ඉන්දියාප්ප හදන හැටි? Anyone who has not seen how they make string hoppers? Both Tamil and Sinhala students? No, right? String hoppers හදන හැටි දැකලා තියෙනව නේද? If you all haven't seen how do they make string hoppers, maybe at least once in your lifetime, you may have seen using an icing nozzle, you push that icing sugar with the butter, that thing, you have seen that it go through that icing nozzle and then it give different shapes. The shape of the icing which come from the nozzle depend on the nozzle shape also. Okay, so in the spinning, this spinneret also have small holes like in the string hopper, that string hopper device. Okay, so then that liquid, molten liquid will come through this small opening. So when you have the small opening, it will comes as a flow, a string. Okay, and that string, when there are cold zones, that is when there's no heat, what will happen? During the because of the temperature of these cold zones, it will pass through a cold zone with different temperatures. So then with the progression, what will happen? It will get solidified. And also that fiber strand or that rod-like thing, rod-like liquid which comes out from the spinneret will get solidified into a cylinder, a small cylinder. And that is what we call as a filament or a fiber. Okay, someone has raised the hand. Kiputa, yeah. කවුරු හරි මගේ මොකක් හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්න raise hand කළා නේද? I don't get the name. කවුරු හරි කාට හරි මොකක් හරි අහන්න දෙයක් තියෙනවද? Please feel free to ask. මොකක් හරි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට clarify කරගන්න දෙයක් තියෙනවද? Someone has raised the hand. Don't know who is that. I can't see it in here. Are you all okay? හරිද මම කන්ටිනියු කරගෙන යන්නද මොකක්වත් නැද්ද කාට හරි අහන්න දෙයක් තිබ්බද? Okay, so this process basically covers that. You take these PET bottles, you cut it into small pieces, you make PET chips, and then you put it into a spinning machine. In that spinning machine, there's a zone where you apply the heat and you melt this solid. Okay, and then you produce the liquid. And that liquid will pressurize through a spinneret, or that spinneret has small openings, small holes, like in a string hopper. And then when you pressurize it and you take the liquid out, it will come to a cold zone. Relatively, temperature is lower than in the liquid zone. Okay, and then what will happen? All these small strings will get into that cold zone, and then you will twist all these individual filaments together. You twist it and then you apply a certain tension. You extend it. You extend it using certain rotating rollers. Okay. So there are a different set of rollers. We call them as drawing. Drawing in the sense you don't just take out the filament, twist it and wind it into the spinning bobbin. But in here, you give a certain extension. So during that extension, through that rotating rollers, we call it as drawing. What will happen? It will align the individual polymers inside the liquid polymer. Okay. So just by aligning these individual molecules inside the liquid of the polymer, you give a certain, we call this as a crystallinity. That is a specific arrangement. Polymers are arranged parallelly in different zones inside the fiber. Okay. And then it will get wound into a spinning bobbin. Okay, we will talk about that molecular arrangement lately. So just go through the video and take the concept. Are you all okay? Can I play the video? Play කරන්නද? ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ internet connections වල ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවද මේක බලන්න? Anyway, I will play it. Because all these things will get recorded, right? When these get recorded, anyway, I'm going to upload this into the Moodle. So if you have any internet problem, you can refer them later as well. May I replay the video? Or can you all refer it later? Okay, I hope you can refer it later. So I will stop playing the video and let me okay. Oh, this is another cool thing. Have you all heard about nylon fibers? Nylon fibers ගැන අහලා තියෙනවද? And if you go to YouTube, there are certain videos which talk about making magic spider fiber. Okay, so this is a process that they can use to produce nylon. Nylon is a polyamide, poly, that is many amide groups, polyamide fiber. So to produce a polymer, we need to have 2 or 3 monomer units. Okay, so by reacting 2 or 3 chemical groups together, you come up with a long length polymer strand, and then that polymer strand could be spun into a yarn. So I'm going to show you another video which basically details you this nylon fiber making process. Okay, this is a one method that you can use to make nylon fibers. Okay, you can add 2 chemicals together, you make the polymer itself, and in here they talk about different chemicals, and then they talk about a interface between 2 liquids. What is the interface between 2 liquids? Now you know, if you pour oil into water, the oil and water layer gets separate because this is something due to a thing called polarity of the water as well as the oil. Okay, so those 2 layers will not get mixed together. The interface is where the oil meets with the water. Okay, so in here also in this video they will show you 2 molecules, 2 chemicals are separated in 2 different liquid layers, but at the interface these 2 chemicals will come and contact with each other, and when these 2 chemicals come and contact with each other, it will make a polymer. That polymer actually could be extracted as a fiber. So this is another way that we can produce a nylon fiber. So the fibers which come out from the interface, we call them as a nylon fiber. Okay, and there are other ways also that we can make nylon fibers. You get the polyamide polymer chips, and then like in the polyester spinning process, you can make them dissolve in a solvent, or you can melt them to have a liquid polymer solution. And then like in the polyester spinning process, it could go through a spinneret, and then it could go through different cooling zones, and then the fiber could be spun. Okay, just go through this video as well because it's very interesting. If there are necessary chemicals available inside the university, and also if I can get hold into these chemicals, we can do a practical on this nylon spinning. Okay, let me share the screen with you. And also in here, you may notice there are certain chemicals that they are using. So please make a note of those chemicals because these are the chemicals that they use to produce the nylon. All right. Screen එක පේනවද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට? Can you all see the screen? Can you all see the screen? මං හිතනවා පේනවා ඇති කියලා. If you all can't see, please do let me know. Okay. So now in here, the previous part is just to make the hexamethylene diamine and the adipilyl chloride. Okay. So now from this, from here onwards, they are going to mix the two chemicals, adipilyl chloride and the hexamethylene diamine. So you all can see there's a separation in the liquid, but at the interface, what will happen? The two chemicals will start reacting with each other and it will make the nylon polymer. All right. Can you all see a solid thing is coming? It's nylon. We call this as a magic spider fiber. Pay attention here. So we have the adipilyl chloride and hexamethylene diamine. So then in here, see the reaction, what is going to happen. You have a chloride group here. We have an amine group here. So then chloride and amine will react with each other and it will remove a HCl, and then what will happen? There's a reaction. Diamine and the chloride group, it will produce a amide bond. Here it is a amide. Now since the system is going to progress these two reaction, because now in here if you take this one and this one molecule go in here, but in here there would be another remaining functional group. So another adipilyl chloride will come and contact with here, and then you will be having from this side a chlorine group, from this side a chlorine group. So this to this side chlorine group, another hexamethylene diamine can come and react. To this side also another hexamethylene diamine can react. So then what will happen? If you take the polymeric structure, this would be the repeating unit. So you have these brackets, within that brackets, this is the repeating unit and this is the two ends. From this end, it's a chlorine group. With this end, it is an amine group, and you have put a number as in here n. That is n times. It depends on the polymerization reaction. So when the n is very large, the molecular weight of the polymer is very large. Okay. And if the n is a short number, a small number, you would have a short polymeric structure, and also depending on the polymer length, it will basically decide certain physical properties like melting point. Because if a polymer chain, if this number is very high, n number is very high, that is the repeating unit number is very high, it will basically gives you a high molecular weight polymer. When the molecular weight is higher, its melting point will also get higher. When the molecular weight is lower, its melting point also would be lower. And also the solvent that you need to make these dissolve will also vary depending on the n number. And also, if you have a higher n number, it will be presented as a solid most of the time. And if the n number is smaller, most of the time it will be a liquid. So the n number basically decide the molecular weight of the polymer. In a polymer, if the molecular weight is very high, it basically comes as a solid. If the molecular weight of the polymer is comparably lower, it comes as a liquid. All right. Can you see the way the polymer has been extracted? Now, since in the previous one, they have taken it as a continuous strand. So then it will make it into a filament. But in here, if you just start mixing it, just by stirring it, it won't form into a continuous strand. It will be just a clump with certain air pockets inside. So it is the way that you take out the liquid or take out the chemical when the polymer reaction start happening. If you take that polymer liquid out as a single strand, it will form into a single filament and then to a yarn, okay, cylindrical form. But if you just mix it, then what will happen? It will go into a specific solid clump. ඔගොල්ලෝ අහගෙන නේද ඉන්නේ නිදි නෑනේ අන්න fluorescein දානවා. It's a fluorescence molecule. So it will give a color under the UV light. Fluorescein. See? So this is innovation. In the innovation, they have make your fiber luminescence fiber. See? Under the UV light, it start glowing. So these are fashion innovation that we can do with nylon. What do you think what will happen? It will form into a sheet. See, it does not form into a filament or a fiber, just maybe small particles. ඔය chemicals ටික හොයාගත්තත් අපිට ලස්සන එකක් කරත හැකි. මොන හරි modifications ටිකක් කරලා polymer එකට you can do some innovations as well. But the thing is finding the chemicals is a little bit difficult. It doesn't look good, no? So this is a one way of making nylon fibers. (265 centigrade). See, so this is what happened when you go for melt spinning. You take the nylon chips, you melt it. Wow, a nylon ball. ආස නැද්ද ලැබ් එක මේව කරලා බලන්න? මට නම් ආසයි. අපි එක එක්කෙනා කෙමිකල්ස් හොයාගෙන ඇවිල්ලා කරමුනේ. Okay. Wait. No. Okay. So how about the videos? Have you enjoyed it? Or is it boring because you can't hear the sound? හරි. හොඳයි. අද lecture එක, so we are going to wind up for today. I hope you got some knowledge from today's lecture. How nylons are made, what is man-made fibers, natural fibers, everything. So this is an introductory lecture, but we have started the lecture today. So we hope to continue with the lecture from next week. I want effective participation from you during the lecture as well. So anyway, the lecture recording, I will upload it into the Moodle so y'all can refer it. I know there are some problems with the internet connection due to power cuts, but these days I think in the mornings they do not have the power cut, isn't it? Because of the O levels. Does anybody know anything about that? In the morning hours, they don't have power cut, is it? දන්නේ නැද්ද කවුරුත්? ඔක්කොමලා නිදිද දන්නේ නැහැ. කවුරුත් උත්තර දෙන්නේ නැහැ කොහොමද? No one answer. All right. So we will wind up for today. I will see you all on next week, next Thursday. ප්‍රශ්න මොනවා හරි තියෙනවද wind up කරන්න කලින් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට අහන්න? Is there any question that you need to clarify before we wind up for today? Maybe not related to even subject matter. ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ මොනවා හරි වෙන යුනිවර්සිටි එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් දැනගන්න දෙයක් හරි මොකක් හරි තියෙනවද? මට පුළුවන් විදිහට ඉන්ෆර්මේෂන් දානවා නම් මට උත්තර දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, I hope everyone is okay. So we will meet up next week, same Thursday, 9:15 to 11:50. Okay. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.